Fox News Alert, key victories for the Trump administration and for the voters who wanted to firmly secure sovereignty at the border as the onslaught of illegal immigration has been stopped under Trump. The U.S. Supreme Court just decided the president does have the authority to end temporary deportation protections, or TPS. That's a program for millions of foreign nationals living in the United States. The Department of Homeland Security was trying to end the TPS program for more than 6,000 Syrian and some 350,000 Haitian immigrants, along with those from other countries. Justices also decided that the administration can restart a policy allowing Customs and Border Protection to curb the number of people that they let in who are seeking asylum at the border between the U.S. and Mexico. Both of those decisions went 6-3 in terms of how the justices voted. Let's dig in deeper. This was such a huge issue for voters and really put President Trump on his first term on the map for setting up even more to come. And now in a second term, we're seeing it. Shannon Bream is with me, chief legal correspondent and anchor of Fox News Sunday. And Jonathan Turley is here, Fox News contributor and constitutional law attorney. Jonathan, I come to you first on just what kind of victory we're talking about and how this does further that anticipation and the reason why so many people voted for Trump about securing our border.
This was a bonanza of a day for the Trump administration, particularly on immigration. The court here reversed lower court judges that some of us had criticized for usurping what are largely executive orders. What's particularly telling in the case involving the border is that the Biden administration had lifted a policy called metering that was put into place by the Obama administration. That's how far the Biden people went in trying to facilitate people entering the country. That policy was then reinstated and expanded by the Trump administration. And the issue here is, are you really in the United States if you're not, if you're on the other side of the border? And the dissent really comes across as almost Clinton-esque, as saying, well, it depends what the meaning of in is.
Oh, boy.
And, you know, you don't have to be actually in to be in the country.
Shannon, you know, when you take a look at just the numbers of people, I want to toggle to the TPS program now, that temporary protected status. This is something that, again, the DHS has been trying to deal with because there's so many people here under that protection. What does this do?
Yeah, essentially it says that the current administration, now that could be a Biden administration, it could be any administration, a Trump administration, that they have the power to make a decision about when to end temporary protected status. There were two different groups at issue here, Haitian refugees and Syrian refugees. And one of the claims by those supporting the Haitian refugees is that this was somehow race motivated. The court did not find enough evidence of that, saying you can't walk forward with an equal protection charge or any of these other claims because you haven't shown that race was an animus in this case, and finding a lot of power for whoever is running the current administration or the current DHS to make these decisions about when that temporary protected status should end. It was a very heated argument when they had it. But again, as you said, it's a 6-3 decision today, a big win for Trump.
All right, talk to me about the 6-3, because both of them were 6-3 decisions. Talk to me about who in the room and how they saw it and why victories today for Trump. Shannon.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't be surprised that these decisions are essentially along party lines. Now, there's a little bit more fracture to the TPS decision. There's some concurrences and different things going back and forth. You know, but what we saw during the arguments actually bled over into a little bit of what we saw from the bench today, because when they announced these opinions, the author of the majority opinion will make a statement, read and kind of summarize from the bench. The dissent is free if they want to, and they don't always do this. They're free to read as well. Well, it got so heated in one of these decisions, Justice Alito read the majority, Justice Sotomayor read her dissent, that after she read her dissent, there was this unprecedented thing in that Justice Alito then kind of rebutted what she said. I've never seen that happen before. It shows you just how tense things are.
Wow, to be a fly on the wall. All right, now, we are still waiting on some major decisions. I know, right? And you guys have seen all this up close, but the rest of us are just saying, that sounds interesting. We are still waiting on major decisions on protecting girls and women in sports against men who identify or boys who identify as women and girls respectively in public spaces, private spaces, competing against them, locker rooms, bathrooms, that sort of thing, and birthright citizenship. Set us up for what's ahead, Jonathan.
Well, we're all, of course, waiting those. We also did get a major gun decision today. Hawaii lost its so-called vampire law effort, which was a major win for the Second Amendment, again showing that blue states are proving to be the greatest allies to the NRA by pushing these ill-considered laws that expand Second Amendment rights. So this was a big win. Now, on birthright citizenship, the administration is really at a disadvantage, in my view. The odds do not favor the court overturning that long-standing precedent. On the transgender cases, I think the states have an advantage themselves. The justices seem prepared to support their effort to limit these sports to your biological gender. But these are all cases that they have to work out the details, so things can change in conference. We've seen major cases where justices that seemed on one side switched in the very end. But that's really where the predictive odds are, I think, right now.
You know, in covering this really cultural divide right now that we're in over boys and girls and men and women in sports, Shannon, one of the things that we've seen happen, and, you know, you don't know if one thing is kind of affecting the other, is that you've got the Olympic board, you've got other entities saying, yeah, we're going to just look at the science in this. We're going to look at, you know, what really drives this more just kind of away from the cultural and the opinions. Does that take over? Does that affect the U.S. Supreme Court?
Well, there's always a conversation about what the science says. So those who are challenging these laws that say if you're born biologically male, you cannot participate in these female leagues and sports programs, they said, well, the science isn't settled about exactly what happens. They're arguing that if you have not gone through puberty, if there have been puberty blockers and those kinds of things, you're not going to have the same advantages. The folks on the other side, West Virginia and Idaho, who are backing these laws and passed them at their state level, said, no, there's a demonstrable fact here that bone density, muscle health, small twitch fibers, all of those things are going to benefit somebody who was born biologically male. I agree with Professor Turley that I think those probably will be wins for the states. We'll have to see. We've got a couple of election cases, too. How many days past Election Day can you count mail-in ballots? That's a big headline, too.
That's a huge question right now. And if we're going to just look at California real quickly as an example, how long did we wait? And that was a primary.
Exactly. And so this case on the ballots came out of Mississippi, and they're arguing. Yeah, and sorry, Professor, not to jump on you there, but yeah, the case out of Mississippi, they're counting several days past Election Day. But, Professor, I'd be interested to see what you thought about those arguments, because they went differently than I thought they would.
No, Shannon, I agree entirely with your take on that. This case technically affects federal elections, but many of our elections are dual state and federal offices. So there's a couple of ways this can play out. If they do say, look, Election Day means Election Day, then states like California are going to have to make a decision. Are they going to bifurcate it to allow more votes to be counted later for state offices? There's a lot of questions there that the court may or may not grapple with as we await this decision.
All right. Great to have you both. Thank you. It's been a big day for the court and for the Trump administration in particular, and all those people who voted for more sovereignty at our border with different rules and regulations there. Great to see you both. Thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.